Welcome back to another episode of Home Theater Gurus. In this episode, episode 41 and episode 42, you're going to see us set up a high pass filter. If you're watching episode 41, you're about to see us set up a high pass filter on a MiniDSP. I'm going to do it both on the advanced and the HD plugin. If you're watching episode 42, you're going to see us set up the same thing, a high pass filter, only we're going to do it in the Behringer, on the DSP of a Behringer amp. So in case you're wondering, why do I need a high pass filter, exactly why do I need it and what does it do? What's the purpose? Before we get started, I just want to say this is going to be based on the Hammer, which has a 20 Hertz tuning. It works for any sub at any tuning. You just need to know that tuning point. Now, if you're not familiar with the Hammer, that's the sub we designed on this channel in previous episodes and is now available as a kit. You can order it through me, and GSG will actually cut it for us. Just a favor they're doing for the channel. I'm not really affiliated with them, but they're cutting it for us. And if you want to see that sub in action, it is an awesome little sub that I would put at the level of a PB13 or PB4000 from SVS. If you want to see a flat pack video and also after the flat pack was built, kind of a performance video, check out Mike from Arkitekts. He's got a really good YouTube channel. It's a new YouTube channel, but he's just really good. He's better behind the camera than I am, which that doesn't take much. Look down in the description. I'll go ahead and I'll link the video to the performance video for the Hammer, and you can kind of look back in his videos and find the flat pack assembly and all that. All right, so let's get on to why we need a high pass filter. If you remember when we designed the Hammer back in the episode where we were doing the WinISD tutorial, and that's where the Hammer was kind of born, we looked at things that happen above and below tuning. Now, of course, above tuning, we're controlling that cone. We're controlling the driver. We control its response using the volume of the enclosure and by manipulating the port. And we can pretty much get any response we want, and we can do a lot manipulating those things. But below tuning, if you remember, all hell breaks loose. We have no control. The cone loses control. There's just nothing there to control it. It's flapping around like a fish. All right, so let's look back at WinISD because it shows you what happens below tuning when we apply power. Now we've got just whatever, RMS, I think this is 600 watts on this driver. And you see this tab right here, it's showing us excursion. That's how much movement we have and our cone is moving, at different frequencies. And as you see below tuning, it's just skyrocketing. Our cone is moving back and forth much more than it should, but we're limited. All drivers are limited, and that's going to be its X max. Now there's a mechanical limit that's usually a little bit above what we're given as X max, but we really need to stay right there. So you can see there's a line right here, and that's our limit. We don't really want to go above that, but it skyrockets past it. The more that driver moves, you're increasing distortion and you risk bottoming it out and actually damaging your driver. So when we go below tuning, that's what's happening. If that filter is not set properly, you could easily have too much output below tuning. It needs to be dropping off pretty fast. And you're going to start robbing power from the other end, from above tuning, because you're working it so hard below tuning. This is one driver. It's not like we have a driver for below and a driver for above. It's one driver and we're killing it because we're trying to force it go lower. Now, sometimes people, it's bragging. They'll want to brag about, I've got a Marty sub, which is tuned around 17, 18 Hertz. And I'm pushing it down to 15 Hertz. Look at my, my response here. And they'll even have a house curve, which is a great thing to have a house curve. And we've gone over that too, like with episode 7 and episode 9. Also the mid-bass video, we went over that. So house curves are awesome, but you do not want to push that sub below tuning. So you can brag about it all day about how low you're pushing a sub that's not tuned to go that low, but what you're really doing is you're hurting your performance of the sub because you're just killing the driver. Okay, it would perform so much better. It would be cleaner. You can actually hit louder SPL levels. If you put a filter where you're supposed to put it and protect that driver, let that driver do what it does good, and that's going to be from tuning above where it's going to rock. Quit trying to kill it, pushing it so low, lower than it really wants to go. Now, if you say, well, look at JTR. They go down at 10 Hertz with their 4000, the JTR 4000. Now that's a beastly subwoofer, but you have to understand they're tuned to 10 Hertz. If you take a Marty sub And also the hammer, they're both tuned, 17 hertz for the Marty, or 17 or 18, 20 for the hammer. Their response is pretty much climbing the whole way up, or linear to, at least linear to tuning. The JTR, it's dropping as it's going to tuning, but it's still being controlled, so they can afford to boost the crap out of it, and it can take it. I mean, it is an awesome driver, but that's how they're going to 10 hertz, and they're tuning to 10 hertz, so they can boost above 10. They still can't boost below, 8 hertz. They're gonna have the same issues, but you're talking 8 freaking hertz. So, don't think that you can take a Marty sub or any sub tuned for 15 hertz, 17 hertz, and push it down to 10 hertz, and you're gonna have a JTR 4000. No, it's tuned for 10 hertz. That's why they can safely boost it from 10 and on up. All right, guys, so maybe now you understand why you need it. Let's go ahead and jump on the computer here, and we're gonna put these filters in these DSPs. All right, guys, so now we're gonna go and do a Behringer. If you wanna see the MiniDSP HD and the MiniDSP advanced plugins being used in the high pass filter setup, go ahead and check episode 41 out. This is 42, where we're going to be doing the Behringer. Let's go ahead and open that up. All right, and I'm going to go over the configuration just really quick. We're going to have one sub out of our AVR. Now, you know all this from episode 7 if you've seen it, but I used an iNuke, so I'm sorry, I used a MiniDSP in episode 7. So I want to kind of show it real quick how to set it up on the Behringers, because I've had people ask this question before. All right, we're going to have one output of from our AVR or processor into the back of our amplifier here, and we could go stereo. Stereo would require that we have 2 cables, A, and it continues all the way to the number 1 output, and then here's input 2 or B, and it continues all the way out to B, so it stays separate. But there's no reason to do that. That's 2 cables coming out of your receiver, and we don't want to do that. We don't want to give our receiver or our processor, if you hit the auto EQ, it can mess up your alignment work that we've done in episode 7. So we're going to hit biamp 1. And now we're using 1 input into our amplifier, our Behringer, and it's just going to split it into 2 outputs. So nice and easy. And right here is where we would, set our delay. So when we click delay, you can see it highlighted, showing that there's delay being used on channel B here. So let's go to the filter crossover tab. This is where we're going to set our high pass filter. And of course, now we're going to be doing this little tutorial here based on the hammer, which is tuned for 20 hertz. So you're going to have to know what your tuning is and what you need your high pass filter set at. Let's go on over to the filter crossover tab. And all the filters are off right now, and you can see you got channel A and B, high pass and low pass. So we're going to come over to the high pass, and we're going to set a Butterworth. And if you watched the MiniDSP episode, we went over this why, but just a different type of filter, and it gives us the slope we want. Now this is where we adjust our slope, and this is 6 dB per octave, and let's set it for 20 because that's where we want it, because our sub is tuned for 20, right? Well, we're dropping at 80 hertz. I mean, you look right here at 20 hertz, we're down like 3 dB. We don't want that. That's way too gradual, and you can't see what's happening below 20, unfortunately, whereas like the MiniDSP you can, which I really like. And 16 hertz, I mean, this sub would only be down maybe 5 dB. It's just, you're going to kill your sub like this. So we need a much steeper slope for this. I mean, we're still 40 hertz, we begin dropping. At 20 dB, we're down 3. You can't see what's happening below 20 hertz like you can on the MiniDSP, which I really wish you could here. You really need to probably go back and check episode 41. Just look at it so you can see what I'm talking about here. Because at 16 hertz, we're probably still only down -5. We're going to kill our driver. It's not enough. We need to drop it pretty hard under our tuning frequency. And here's 24. You hear that a lot too. 20 hertz. I mean, we're dropping around just under 30. We begin dropping. Still -3 dB, -4 dB at 20 hertz. Still too much. And we're still going to have too much output below 20. It's not steep enough. So unfortunately, you don't have like the options in the MiniDSP. You can set it at 36 and 42 dB per octave. This one jumps from 24 straight to 48. That's okay. 48 is actually what I like to use. It drops really hard. Now, if you remember from the MiniDSP video, we actually chose 18 hertz for our point, and you know, the 48 dB per octave, and that gave us a nice flat response all the way to 20, and then it just dropped. So that's what we want. But we're kind of like blocked right here, because look what happens if we try to put in 18 hertz. Oh, not 1,000 or 1820, 18 hertz. Enter 20 hertz. It jumps right back up. It will not let you go below that. Well, there is a workaround. Now, if you wanted 22 hertz or something, the iNuke does it, no problem. There it is, 22 hertz, 48 dB per octave Butterworth filter. But we want to go below that. We want to go to 18. Well, on ABS several years ago, LTD02, he came up with a fix, or I guess he came up with it. He's the first person I saw that put it out how to fix this issue, or how to, you know, how to resolve it. So the first thing we are going to do is, he suggests a 12 dB per octave slope. I don't like to do that, and I've already shown you why, but here is really the fix. Come over here and select HS12, okay? And then we're going to select 20 hertz, hit enter. Last time I was actually connected to an iNuke or a Behringer, you had to hit enter or it wouldn't load. I don't know, this looks like a slightly updated version, but anyway, it doesn't hurt to hit enter just to make sure. All right, now according to what LTD02 is saying, now this is with this set for 12 dB. Supposedly this is going to get you all the way down to 16 hertz for a filter, but the slope is still going to be too gradual. Like I said, I like to stick with a steep slope because I want the most performance above tuning. All right, so we're going to keep this right here at 20 hertz, -4. Now, so we really can't see exactly what this is doing under 20 hertz. And you know, this right here is kind of not really showing us either. So we can't really see what's going on. We'd have to measure with like REW to really see it really good. But you know, if you notice that your subwoofer's struggling, here, first measure it with Room EQ Wizard. You don't have to worry about it. But you can just bump this up, and that's going to raise up the filter. So I mean, you know, if it's at 0, then you're back at 20. So you could go to -2. You know, that's going to get you even closer to, you know, just under 20 hertz. So that's probably going to be about where we want to be with the hammer. Unfortunately, like I said, we can't see it in the software here. We'd have to measure it. But that's what you're going to have to do if you have a Behringer. Behringers are fine. They work really well. This is where you load all your filters, like from episode 7, you know, your EQ filters. It's tedious and time consuming, where, you know, the iNuke, you just drag or you basically load a file. It takes seconds versus, you know, this can take, you know, 10 minutes to load, you know, 2 channels, and there's room for human error. And of course, Behringer does have a dynamic EQ function that the MiniDSP doesn't. And that's pretty cool, especially if you listen to different volumes. You know, you can do your house curve in the MiniDSP, but this is a little bit different. You know, basically the same thing as what Odyssey has, where the dynamic, you know, when you turn dynamic EQ on, it will increase. It has its own house curve that increases as you get quieter, and it just makes the bass sound natural at any level. And if you listen at the same level all the time, then it's not a big deal. Or if you like to use Odyssey's dynamic EQ, you don't need this. But it's really a cool function. So it's really nice to have, right? Behringer definitely has a nice, clean layout. Just in general, its layout is really nice. All right, guys, there you go. Easy peasy. So now you know how to set up a high-pass filter. So after this video, I mean, like, you know, the house is fixing to kick off, so I'm going to be really busy, busier than I have been. And I'm not going to lie, I've been kind of lazy. That's why I haven't put out a lot of content lately, but I have had a lot going on. But I want to get one more out before we start doing the like the weekly or bi-weekly updates for the new home theater and the new house. Because I'm actually going to have a couple different systems in that house, so I'm going to, you know, you're going to see all of those evolve. So if you don't want to miss those, subscribe. And after you subscribe, hit the notification bell so you get the little ding when those videos come out. And also spread the word on the channel. The more you like a video and you subscribe to it, YouTube sees it. And I'm sure you know, if you've seen a lot of these videos, you know that more people need to watch these, because it's sad, but there's so much bad information out there. People need to know about it and get good information. And YouTube pushes it more when you like a video. When you subscribe to it, they're like, hey, you know, this channel's getting some attention, so they give it more attention. But anyway, I'm rambling again, so let me stop that. A lot of people have requested room setup videos, and really Odyssey. You know, that Odyssey editor app. People are confused how to use it. I've had a lot of people come to me, they'll use it and they say, well, it screwed up my response. And there's ways to use it and tricks to, to use it to your advantage. And that's what we're going to go over, how to use it properly to get the performance out of it that it's capable of. I'm going to show you when to use it, when you shouldn't use it. Luckily, with the new editor app, you can actually limit the EQ. And that's a biggie because we can use it where we need it. And you may not always need it full bandwidth, from 20 hertz to 20K. So we're going to cover that. I don't want to give too much away. If I keep talking, I'll just do the whole video right now. But I want to get it on my TV here. I don't really have a setup. I've got a hammer sub here and two bookshelves, so we're going to use just that, and so I can do the video. All right, guys. So that is going to be it for this one. Like I said, don't forget to subscribe, notification bell, and I will see you guys next time.